I'm back and I am sweaty because I had to run out for batteries for my microphone, which I left on for an indeterminate amount of time. Cool. So yes, I am back. I finally have a proper wrist thing for my broken wrist, which my housemate drew all over. Kindly, that's cool. I don't know what's with me in videos this year. I've barely posted any videos this year. I don't know, I just haven't been, I don't know, I feel like I've been a little stuck because of like day job stuff and just haven't been in the right mindset to be regularly putting out videos for some reason, but I really want to get back into it. I definitely don't want to stop doing it, so I'm back. I will be going live next week as well. I will announce that like the day before it happens at least. But today I want to talk about a couple of books which I did put up in shorts, but I'm not sure how many people actually saw those. They are on my new like book related TikTok as well, so you can check that out if you want to see some short videos from me, some short fun videos. I'll probably be posting them all on YouTube Shorts anyway. But there are a couple of books I want to talk about today which were supposed to be paid reviews, but I only got paid for one of them. Entirely my own fault because I couldn't stick to the schedule and I didn't post them in time. But I'm still going to talk about them. But first I just want to mention I recently went back to the land of no internet, i.e. Donegal, and I was randomly in this little charity shop with my sister and my niece, and of course the first thing I saw was a book of ghost stories. So I picked it up thinking it might have just some random people, but it's actually got Ray Bradbury, Charles Dickens, Franz Kafka wrote ghost stories? Okay, interesting. This is an interesting little book of short stories chosen by Robert Westwall, and I like the sort of, I wonder what year it came out actually, but I don't know, the colourful, I don't know how to describe the cover, but I like it. It feels kind of 90s, but it 1988 apparently. So yeah, I like it. I like the cover, so I'll be reading that pretty soon. It's also got some illustrations in it, which is quite nice. I do like a little illustration. So there's that. I'm also going to be filming a video about movies soon, because I've been watching a lot of movies, different types of movies, and I have some thoughts on a particular type of movie, so I will be talking about that soon. But thank you so much for everyone who's stuck around, everyone who has messaged me or joined my lives that I've done recently or anything else. Really appreciate you, and I have some fun stuff coming up in the future that is writing related. The next few weeks are going to be really busy for me because I got some great opportunities in, you know, performing and dancing and stuff, but also book stuff, and I'm really excited. I've got energy, I've got stuff coming up, so it's gonna be good. So the two books that I want to talk about today are actually by the same writer, and that is Blake Rudman, and they're sort of horror thriller books. One of them I quite liked. I gave it 4 stars. The other one didn't like as much, and I did read it second, so it was kind of living in the shadow of the first one, but I'll let you decide whether you would like to read them. So the first one is called The Gentleman's Choice, and this one's interesting because it's very heavily R-rated, X-rated, very heavy on the sex scenes and stuff, which I've spoken about before. I don't particularly like reading sex scenes. They're either too cringy and awkward, or they're too like clinical and, you know, medical almost. So I wasn't really expecting to like this one, but I did. He actually handled it really well. He's a really good writer. I like his writing, and it brought up some interesting ideas. So the story is about The Gentleman's Choice, which is an internet a live reality dating show. If you think of The Bachelor, pretty much it's like that. So you have the star of the show, Cole Gianni, who is this Euro trash, not entirely giving up exactly where he's from, millionaire seemingly, who wants to find true love. And each week or each season there is a new woman that has to try and woo him, and they go on dates that are voted on by the viewers and the public who pay to vote. And if this woman makes it to the 5th and final night, then she gets to actually sleep with him, and she also gets a cash prize and a luxurious vacation somewhere as well. And so lots of young women are wanting to get on this show for the money, for the fame, and there's a never-ending stream of people coming on. And of course he never finds true love, because then the show would end. So but it is very explicitly a pornography show. That's why people watch it. That's why people vote, because they get to vote to have their actual fantasies played out on screen. And it's seemingly very popular, and Cole and his friend Skippy are the ones who run it. Skippy is the producer of the show, and it's been going very well for the last few years. Unfortunately though, Cole is getting a little bit tired of this life. He's started to fall for some of the women, which Skippy shuts down pretty quickly. He wants to move on to bigger and better things. He always wanted to be a Hollywood actor, though something went wrong in that section of his life. And Skippy is just very stuck in having this show and living vicariously through Cole, because he isn't a very charming or attractive man himself. I would go so far as to say that he is a sexual predator. So he doesn't get a lot of women himself, so he really clings on to Cole and manipulates and harasses the women that are around Cole and the women who want to come on the show. And he doesn't want to give that up. He doesn't want to sell the show. He doesn't have anything else to move on to like Cole might. So that's the situation with the show. Now the book starts with a woman called Tracy, who you quickly realise she's watching the show, and you realise that she was once a contestant on the show, and she feels like her and Cole were starting to have an emotional connection. They're really starting to like each other, and she's pissed because she didn't win, because she was told to play a character by Skippy, the producer, and this character led her to be voted off by the viewers. And she was promised that if she played this character, she would get through to the end. But of course, they need variety in the contestants. They need, you know, the easygoing cool girl. They need the uptight one. They need the crazy one, the funny one, whatever. They need all these different characters. So they ask women to play these up a little bit, and it doesn't always go their way. But she's watching the show, she's enjoying the show, and just at the show's climax, someone comes into her apartment, bashes her over the head, and she's kidnapped, and she wakes up in a room tied to a bed with another season of the show playing on a TV screen, and another woman tied up to the bed with her. And she quickly realizes that that woman was also on a previous season of the show, and they've both been kidnapped because of their connection to the show. Dun, dun, dun. Then we're taken to a woman called Charlotte, and Charlotte is a young, precocious, intelligent, beautiful PI, private investigator, and she's trying to make a name for herself in her industry. And she's knocking on the front door of a couple, and they had a daughter that went missing and was found brutally murdered, and she was a contestant on the show. So it seems like there's a pattern of people being taken and hurt who were on the show. So she is there to try and convince this couple that if they give her some money, if they pay her up front, she will find the reason behind her daughter's murder and hopefully solve a bunch of other murders and kidnappings as well. And she is willing to do anything to push her career forward and find the killers as well, but she really is in it a lot for herself, and naturally this leads to her wanting to become a contestant on the show because she's convinced that it's someone involved in the show that is committing these murders. So we have secrets, we have murders, we have kidnappings, we have an internet porn show, we have interconnected relationships and deceit and people playing characters and lying to themselves and people around them, and it's a whole big thing. I actually really liked this because the sex scenes were fine for me. I'm sure other people would really enjoy them. It does point out the hypocrisy in the porn industry, the way that women in particular are exploited for their looks and exploited to be punished. Like, a lot of the scenes that these contestants are put into are voted on by the public, and they're seemingly voted on to be as violent or as overbearing and controlling as possible. And then of course you have Skippy, the producer of the show, who is also trying to manipulate these women and make them do things for him, and harass them behind the scenes and just be disgusting piece of crap. And then of course, because these women are on the show, they're punished for it in the real world as well. They're judged for it. They're literally taken and kidnapped and killed. In the case of the young woman whose death is being investigated, her parents like shunned her and absolutely were disgusted by the fact that she wanted to do the show. So there's a lot of talk about violence in sex, violence in the porn industry and the exploitation of that. You also have Cole, who feels like he's stuck in this show and he wants to actually go out and actually have a connection with someone, actually move on with his life, but he's not being allowed to because his business partner is manipulating him. I did really like it. There are loads of layers to it and it is really well written. I did feel like the ending was just a little bit rushed. Like it was all sort of leading up to this, and then the very ending, the climax of the book, was just a little bit rushed. But other than that, it was really interesting. I wasn't expecting the ending to be what it was, the answers to the questions, you know. And then we have Dark Beauty by Blake Rudman. So this one is a little different from the other one. This follows the story of two twin sisters called Tessa and Kristen. And the book starts with them at an after party for a brand new movie that has just come out. They're both models and actresses, and this is their big debut as movie stars, and they are at the after party of this. And Tessa is the very poised, put together sister, and Kristen is the more erratic, you never know what she's gonna do sister. And they're at this party with all the producers and everyone who's on the film, and Kristen is not happy because the reviews are very kind to her sister but not so kind to her, as her performance was a little erratic for different reasons, and so they're having an argument, and someone from Kristen's past somehow gets into the party and attacks both of them and ends up giving them both horrific scars that they now have to live with. Now then the story goes back and we get to see how the sisters ended up in this situation in the first place, and it goes back to when they were teenagers and how they differed in school and with friends and stuff. Tess was always the very studious person. She never went out with boys or anything. She had a couple of close friends. Kristen was always sort of the troublemaker, making trouble for her parents, getting into fights at school. She was protective of her sister, who, if her sister ever got bullied, she would stick up for her, but she was off sneaking out, going to parties and all this kind of thing. And Tess always wanted to become a doctor, so she was headed straight for graduation, straight for college, straight for med school. But Kristen was so sure that she was meant for greater things, but she just didn't feel like she could do it by herself, so she ends up trying to manipulate her sister into becoming a model with her, you know, damaging her reputation, damaging stuff that she's trying to do, so that she doesn't have a choice other than to carry along with her sister's life plan for them. And she ends up making them big stars, and she's the reason why they're in these movies in the first place. But she is very manipulative. She always gets her way, and she is also very self-destructive. So there's men she's manipulating, there's drugs, there's a whole bunch of things. And now back in the present, that's all kind of gone away, because she can't be a movie star anymore, she can't be a model, and Tess is also trying to come to terms with the fact that this has been done to her. And that's the basic premise of the story. So I didn't like this one as much. One of the reasons was because it starts off with them at the party and that inciting incident, and then it starts to go sort of back and forth between them as teenagers and them in the hospital and leaving the hospital and coming to terms with this. And it was a little awkward for me. I would have preferred if it was, you know, the inciting incident at the party, then we go back to teenagers and we follow them up to that point. That would have just made a bit more sense for me. It was also hard to really feel much for the sisters because they're both such stereotypes, you know, the good twin and the evil twin. Tess is so perfect and so good and honest, and she's never hates her sister. She never feels bad, even though her sister's completely ruining her entire life. She just immediately forgives her and carries on with it, and is such a good, perfect, lovely person at all times. And Kristen is so horribly manipulative to every single person in her life, even her twin sister. And you could argue that there's good reason for that, but it's just, she doesn't have any boundaries whatsoever. She'll cross every line. She's totally fine with that. And it just felt like they weren't full complete characters, they weren't full complete people. You know, there were no real contradictions in them. They were just very good, bad, white, black. That's what it is. There's some a little bit of murder mystery in it. There's a little bit of secrets and deception and stuff, but yeah, it just didn't fully work for me. I would have liked a little bit more ambiguity, a little bit more something. I don't know. It was missing something for me, but it was fine. Again, it's similar to the other one. It talks about how damaging fame can be and being in the limelight, and how people can be utterly ruthless when they are trying to realize these dreams, these types of dreams where they want to be the star and stuff, and they want to make money and all these kinds of things, and does deal a lot in deceptions and masks and wearing different faces and pretending to be different people. So there seems to be a theme with Rudman's work in that. So I was like 2.5 or 3 stars for this one, because it just wasn't entirely working for me. But definitely check those out if you like them. Thank you so much for joining me in this video today. I will be back very soon with some movie recommendations and movie talks. I also still have to do the 6 books that I read for the Booktuber Choice Awards. I filmed some of it, but then I didn't like it, so I scrapped it, so I need to get on that as well. And I will be doing some lives and some reading and writing productivity sprints next week to finally get some things done. So thanks so much for joining me. I will be back very soon with another video.